Severe thunderstorms move through much of the state today.
Tracking strong thunderstorms here across our state today. Coming up, what you can expect for the overnight hours, where we could see flooding yet tonight, and then our air quality forecast for the next couple of days.
Anything that we can do, we've tried to do.
When the rain comes down, sometimes that means you need to evacuate. We'll show you the coordinated effort to keep people safe in one Utah town.
The downpour caused flash flooding once again, catching residents off guard in Iron County. What the city says went wrong, while people living there worry what could come next.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
Widespread storms from the Wasatch Front to the southern end of Utah. They packed quite a major punch today, made a big impact on the roads, and damaged many people's homes.
Let's get right to Fox 13 meteorologist Allison Krogan with what to prepare for throughout the night and into the morning commute. Allison.
Yes, we saw a record rainfall here across the state. More on that current radar in a second, but I wanted to quickly start with Delta, Utah. Delta smashed an all-time record for 24 hours. They've had almost 5 inches of rain from 5 p.m. yesterday to 5 p.m. today. The previous 24-hour record was less than an inch and a half of rain. So these were record-setting storms. Daniel Summit saw more than 3 inches of rain. Beaver 2.75. Oak City more than 2.5 inches of rain. Just about that for Bryce and Heber. Sundance a little more than 2 inches of rain. Here in the Salt Lake Valley, Olympus Cove, 2.5 inches of rain just about. Eureka, about 2 inches of rain. Salt Lake City downtown, more than an inch and a half of rain. So we still have a little bit of rain coming down right now. Moderate rainfall for the Salt Lake Valley from North Salt Lake down to Provo and Santaquin. Into southern Utah, we have a line of thunderstorms moving through northern Washington County right now. Coming up, where I have flooding concerns for tonight, where we have flash flood warnings right now, and your air quality forecast.
Allison, thank you. Some residents in Draper were hit hard with the wind last night. Take a look at this. The Halversons lost every tree in their yard during the storm. At first, they thought lightning hit their home.
I thought that we had a lightning that hit one of our trees, but then we had a huge boom and our house shook. And so we just, all of us jumped up, and my husband was like, oh, I think we have some limbs that fell on our roof.
And when they went outside, they realized wind had taken down all 4 of their trees. The roof was also damaged and was leaking water.
Lightning is believed to be the cause of a fire at a Murray business this afternoon. Crews were called to a building near 45th South and 7th East. The business owner says he saw lightning strike the building and that he and his son grabbed a fire extinguisher and tried to put out a fire in the attic. That helped slow the flames until firefighters arrived to finish the job.
Lightning does strike buildings every now and then. There were thousands of lightning strikes last night in northern Utah. I'm sure multiple buildings were hit. It's not very often, though, that we come to a structure fire caused by a lightning strike.
The fire was kept to the attic, but there was some smoke damage to the building. Investigators will determine whether lightning was indeed the cause.
The city of Bountiful is making sandbags available to all residents because of the potential for flash flooding.
Dan and Barbara Newbold put the bags around their window wells. Many times before, water has run off a slope from their neighbor's yard and flooded their basement. Still, they're happy to see the rain.
We absolutely love it. Just keep it coming. They said it rain for the next 3 or 4 days, which is good.
The Newbolds thank the city for making the sandbags available.
We've kind of just come to terms with it, and that's what we do.
First, it's the concern for fire, then the concern for flash flooding and mudslides. Tonight, Mapleton residents near the Ether Hollow fire burn scar tell us they know the plan to get to safety very well. People were evacuated for a short period today, but allowed to go back home when conditions were deemed safe. Fox 13's Brian Schnee reports the evacuation wasn't for nothing.
They did tell us we're expected to get more rain over the next several days, so this may happen again.
Stephen McCowan lives in one of the homes closest to the Ether Hollow fire burn scar.
When the fire happened a couple of years ago, that took us by surprise about how fast it was, how fast it started and raced up the hill behind us.
He knows that fire can lead to flood, which is why they've got a plan.
When we got the alert today that they wanted us to evacuate, we knew what to do. We grabbed the go bags, we threw stuff in it, and we took off. It was really pretty quick.
People here in this Mapleton neighborhood have taken about every precautionary measure possible to make sure their neighborhood will survive any sort of flash flooding or debris that come down from that burn scar.
We basically are watching these kinds of weather events as they come through and trying to get people out of their homes early, so we have no loss of life.
It's not the first time in the last month that Mapleton City Fire has gotten the signal from the National Weather Service that unfavorable conditions may be moving in. They even found a way to speed up their own evacuation process.
On the last evacuation, we felt that we spent a lot of time knocking on doors for people that were already gone.
So now all 20 or so homes that are in the evacuation area have a yellow-green cone that they use when evacuating.
They put it out as a signal to the first responders that, one, they've received the message to evacuate and that they've either evacuated or they're choosing to shelter in place.
It sped up the evacuation by about 20 minutes. Wednesday's weather ended up not producing significant debris and water flow from the burn scar, but just weeks ago that wasn't the case. Heavy rain produced nearly 9 inches of mud at the end of the street, which is still much less than the possible 9 feet of mud that some homes are projected to be in the path of if a major storm hits.
We weren't able to build a wall. We weren't able to build a giant retention pond that would catch all this debris. Early warning and communication is key to saving people's lives here.
In Mapleton, Brian Schnee, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, some people living in basement apartments of a condo in Murray had water pouring into their units this afternoon.
Fox 13's Aaron Cox is in Murray tonight at the Willowbrook condos where they are still cleaning up the mess tonight. Aaron.
That's right, Kelly and Bob. This condo complex, there's a river that runs right through the middle of it, and this is where residents tell me the water overflowed. So you can see how fast it is going down here right now. I'm told that earlier today the water reached as high as that top level of the rocks there, spilling over and flooding the basement apartments lining the sides. Now this is the cell phone video one resident took of the water that flowed from the river up to the back door. Now hours later, crews arrived with vacuums and sump pumps to clear out the inches of water soaked into the basement floors. Some say there were up to 3 inches of water. Another family says when they arrived to check on their daughter's condo this evening, there was nearly half an inch.
There was water on the floor and along the walls. The carpet was soaked in the bedrooms and in the living room. And there was a big rug right here that was soaked as well, and we kind of vacuumed most of that up. So underneath the furniture is probably still wet. And the kitchen is over this way, and that was also water all the way through the kitchen area. We vacuumed all that up as well. It was probably, I'm going to say probably about a 1/4 inch, maybe in some spots.
Now, 2 residents told me a tree fell into the river a few weeks ago and was never cleared. With the storm and the continuous rain that is still coming down, the water began to rise and built up a high around the tree, causing it to overflow. On one side of the river, condos flooded. There are sandbags protecting some residents on the other side. Now, I spoke with the HOA president who says that, I mean, this has been tragic for everyone involved. He also says that the worst case scenario would have been that the inches of water outside would have completely seeped in. He says even though there were lots of inches of water inside those basement apartments, there was more on the outside of the apartment. Live in Murray, Aaron Cox, Fox 13 News, Utah.
A lot of cleanup for so many people tonight. We do want to remind everyone you can track storms right from the palm of your hand wherever you are with the Fox 13 First Alert weather app. You can find the latest radar, current conditions, and so much more. Just use your Apple or Android smartphone right now to scan the QR code on your screen and then download the app from your phone's app store.
Coming up on Fox 13 News at 9.
Oh my gosh, it cannot rain like this again.
A mess here in Delta as storms continue on and off. Just how many people are dealing with flooding?
The housing market in Salt Lake County is changing.
So instead of there being 30, 40, 50 offers on a home, we're probably seeing anywhere from 5 to a dozen offers on a home.
What one real estate expert has to say about the recent cool-off.
Former BYU Cougar Zach Wilson says he was a fanboy at the Jets practice today. He'll tell us why coming up.
Flash flooding hit communities in Iron County again today, including Cedar City and Canaryville, damaging yards and homes.
Fox 13's Lauren Steinbrecher spoke to emergency managers, also residents, about what made the flooding a little different this time around. Lauren.
Yeah, Kelly and Bob, we've seen flooding down there over and over the past few weeks. For at least 2 of the neighborhoods, residents thought their homes would be protected.
That's not good. A familiar sight in Cedar City yet again. Roads completely flooded out, leaving locals in complete shock.
The water, the mud, I should say, was clear up to our doors. And that's in a lifted truck.
Around 4 a.m., we got a phone call. We live here in Cedar with them. And so we got a phone call from my mom. There's water in the house. We don't know where water's coming from.
Laura Levitt's parents' home flooded overnight. In the morning, volunteers rushed in, but so did another wave of water.
All of a sudden, everyone go, everyone get out. There's more water coming. And they actually, my mom and my grandma were in the house, and my sister and several other women, and they evacuated them and the bucket of a loader.
Which you can see in this picture. They made it out as mud and water rushed through the entire one-story home and Levitt's dad's mechanic business.
They have a shop out there that has his entire livelihood in it that's just gone.
Gone because the very creek meant to protect their home is instead what flooded it.
Coal Creek is honestly there to help divert water. Water should never go over it. It shouldn't. It's made in a way that there's other outlets that it should feed into so it doesn't flood these areas.
Iron County Emergency Management tells me several logjam blockages in Coal Creek 100 yards each caused the breaches. They're trying to unjam the blockages now, racing against time with more rain expected.
It's heartbreaking. It's the strangest thing to be afraid of the weather now.
Afraid of the weather, of more flooding, of who in Iron County could be hit next.
Laura says the one thing keeping her parents moving forward is all the volunteers who showed up out of nowhere to clean up. They say city engineers also showed up today trying to figure out what went wrong with the creek and blockages. Live in studio, Lauren Steinbrecher, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Lauren, thank you. A construction zone on the east side belt of I-215 in Salt Lake County had to be shut down this afternoon when rainwater overtook the freeway. Drivers had to be diverted off the highway at 3300 South, causing a traffic jam. John Gleason with the Utah Department of Transportation told me there was several feet of standing water in the area, all because the storm came in too quickly and all at once.
The storm drains up there just became overwhelmed. We had parts of the project that were flooded, and we had to shut down southbound I-215 for a period of a couple hours there. We have one lane open again, and traffic's moving through there.
John says UDOT crews are still working in the area tonight. They do plan on having the freeway completely reopened just in time for the morning drive.
I keep crying, and then I'm in shock, and now I'm in denial.
Thousands of residents in the city of Delta are cleaning up tonight after heavy rain tore through last night and this morning.
And get this, almost the entire town has been affected by the flooding. Fox 13's Sydney Glenn shows us the damage.
Oh my gosh, it cannot rain like this again.
As the rain continues to fall,
there's so much stuff out here and it's going to be getting wet.
Candace Jeffrey can't believe this is real.
Lightning was just constant all night long, and I could hear it pouring. And so I was actually praying all night. I'm like, please do not let it be like Cedar City and flood my house.
Feet of water rushed into her home.
It's just devastating. The water eventually got up past the outlets of the house. The whole basement's ruined.
And she's not alone. Thousands of sandbags have been filled.
No one has arrived that hasn't been affected in one way or another. Everybody's homes have some water.
June Chang's home had about 8 feet of water.
I was really in shock that when the rain's still going on and the water coming into the house, I was in shock.
And still looks like this.
The whole basement was full of the water. Like the whole basement, all the stuff in there is immersed, the whole basement. And my whole living room was soaked. All the carpet was like soaked.
Everyone trying to clean up, pump the water out, and hope the rain stops.
I just want to run away. I don't know. I feel it's surreal.
A spokesperson for Delta City says there's about 3,600 homes here, and almost all of them have been impacted by flooding in some way. Anyone who needs help getting the water out of their home is urged to call the city. We have that phone number over on our website, fox13now.com. In Delta, Sydney Glenn, Fox 13 News, Utah.
More on that heavy rain that's still moving through parts of Utah this evening. The front is now across central to eastern Utah, so we are continuing to see areas of heavy rainfall as a possibility this evening. Now, Salt Lake, we're going to continue that chance for rain this evening and into tomorrow morning. Satellite and radar looks like this right now. Rain from about the Layton area down into Lehigh. Heaviest rain right now east of I-15, right near Point of the Mountains. So we are continuing to see the rain coming down for the Wasatch Back Park City area. And then we do have a line of strong thunderstorms moving through northern Washington County right now near New Harmony up towards Cedar City. Quite a bit of rainfall with that. We also have somewhat low visibility here across a lot of the state, particularly Salt Lake down to Richfield. This does include along I-15, so keep in mind you'll want to travel with caution this evening. Leave yourself plenty of space. And also if you have those fog lights, always a great idea to use those on a night like tonight with low visibility. Plus, we have a flash flood watch still in effect for a lot of Utah. This does not include the Wasatch Front, but it does include the Wasatch Mountains until 6 a.m. And we do currently have some flash flood warnings for southern Utah, mainly for the drainages that take it down into Arizona. But what we have right now is a flash flood warning for the Paria River, Hoagie Creek, Cottonwood Creek, and Snake Creek, and then a flash flood warning for the Grand Circus area. This does include the upper Escalante River. So quite a bit still happening across the state. You're probably noticing how much cooler it is outside. It's going to be a cool start tomorrow. Most of the state right now in the 50s. But St. George still holding out at 88 degrees right now compared to this time 24 hours ago. It's about 20 to 30 degrees cooler out there. It's still smoky. I'll talk more about the air quality later in the hour, but I wanted to start with our wind and the rain that we're currently seeing. So St. George, your wind is 37 miles per hour. The front hasn't quite moved through the St. George area. That's why you're still fairly warm, close to 90 right now. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, rain, so grab the umbrella as you're heading out the door. If you've got kids that are walking to school, I would recommend maybe making arrangements to drop them off if that's a possibility. Otherwise, you'll definitely want to make sure that they are all geared up as they head out the door. Here's what Futurecast will look like overnight for the Wasatch Front. 10 o'clock, still the chance for some showers and thunderstorms. The ground is already saturated. We don't have much more places for the rain to go. So if you experience some problems today and you're on that south to east end of the valley, you could potentially have some more rainfall that impacts your yard this evening. And then into the overnight hours, 4 a.m., take a look at that. We haven't seen the color blue on here in a while, have we? Chance for some snow over 10,000 feet tonight. And then into tomorrow afternoon, so I'll stop this at lunchtime for the Wasatch Front. We will continue with scattered thunderstorms. So this is a bigger picture for the overnight hours because I want to highlight central Utah. You're going to be dealing with quite a bit of rain this evening, potentially some areas of flash flooding in the overnight hours. St. George close to 85 to 90 through Friday, into the upper 90s starting next week. And for the Wasatch Front, we are close to 65 tomorrow, a little bit warmer for Friday and Saturday, a mild weekend warming up next week. But coming up, all of your smoky sky forecast and also our current air quality.
All right, Allison, see you soon. Thank you. Still to come, a prominent executive at the University of Utah has now stepped down after a Fox 13 investigation. Coming up, we have an update on his resignation and what is happening now between him and his former employer. Welcome back, everyone. Salt Lake County's hot housing market appears to be cooling off a little.
Home sales are down for the second month in a row now. Fox 13's Haley Higgins finds out why.
Home sales in Salt Lake County took a nosedive in July, down 25% since a record-setting month last July.
Well, the housing market has slowed down, as the reports have showed.
A closer look shows us why. Fewer people are selling their homes, and when they do, it's at a significantly higher price, an average of $550,000, according to the Salt Lake Board of Realtors.
We've seen people take a break from summer, maybe because they got burned out on their searching, but right now we're still seeing there be a lot of demand.
But the summer slowdown doesn't mean buyers can procrastinate.
So instead of there being 30, 40, 50 offers on a home, we're probably seeing anywhere from 5 to a dozen offers on a home. So we're not seeing it be as competitive, but it's still competitive.
The homes that are on the market are selling in half the time. A typical home was sold in just 6 days compared to 12 the year before. In Salt Lake City, Haley Higgins, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Home sales were also down by double-digit percentages in Utah, Davis, and Weber counties. Sales are expected to pick back up this fall because interest rates remain low.
Coming up after the break.
Kids entering the hospital due to COVID-19. Coming up, we go in depth on the numbers and the two factors that set Utah apart.
Plus, a third dose of the vaccine will soon be available when the CDC and the FDA say you can get the booster shot.
John Pease was a legend at Utah. Coming up, Morgan Scally will share his thoughts on his coaching mentor.
The state is reporting a little less than 1,500 new cases of COVID-19 today. There were 12 more deaths, 6 yesterday and 6 on Monday. Nearly 400 people are hospitalized with the virus right now. The weekly positivity rate is 13.6%.
Throughout the pandemic, children have had a less severe reaction to COVID-19 than any other age group. But still this week, 300 children nationwide have been admitted to the hospital every day because of COVID-19.
But that is not the case here in Utah for some reason. Fox 13's Max Roth takes an in-depth look tonight.
That number, 300 a day, is the highest rate of the pandemic for children entering the hospital. But Florida and Texas are fueling that surge. We're not there in Utah, and the hope is we don't get there.
Children 17 and under admitted to American hospitals, much higher now than the previous peak in January. Utah's January child hospitalization rate was higher than the national rate, but right now Utah is lower. 2 Utah children admitted to the hospital for COVID-19 each day on average. But 2 other factors paint a different picture. First, there are only 2 level 1 designated pediatric hospitals in the Mountain West: Children's Hospital Colorado and Primary Children's Hospital in Utah. A child with severe illness in Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, or Nevada is likely to wind up in Salt Lake City. The second factor, August 16th, 2 children a day was the rolling average for the week that ended on August 16th, before most Utah schools held classes. Now, child deaths from COVID are still extraordinarily rare as a portion of all COVID deaths, but the CDC has data on 459 of them. They span the years of childhood: 141 0 to 4-year-olds, 94 5 to 11-year-olds, 123 12 to 15-year-olds, and 101 16 and 17-year-olds. Utah has defied the odds with only 1 of those deaths in November of 2020. The CDC does have data on some of the Utah children going to the hospital, and it shows almost 1 in 3 wind up in the intensive care unit.
While 459 deaths of children is not a large portion of the overall COVID deaths in America, compare it to something else that gets a lot of our attention. The record number of students killed in school shootings in one school year was 35. Max Roth, Fox 13 News, Utah.
More data here. Just over 11,000 additional vaccines have been administered in Utah since yesterday's report. Nearly 4,600 more Utahns are now considered fully vaccinated.
A third dose of COVID-19 vaccine will begin rolling out for all fully vaccinated Americans beginning next month. The CDC and the FDA made the joint announcement today.
The plan ensures that people who were fully vaccinated earliest in the vaccination rollout will be eligible for a booster first. This includes our most vulnerable populations, like our healthcare providers, nursing home residents, and other seniors. We will also begin delivering booster shots directly to residents of long-term care facilities.
The guidelines suggest you should get the third shot 8 months after your second dose. It will initially be for the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. Officials anticipate the third shots will likely be needed for people who initially received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
The TSA is extending its mask mandate on airplanes and public transportation through January 18th of 2022, next year. Now, the mandate was set to expire just next month in September, but officials cited the spread of COVID-19 as a reason for the extension. In Washington, D.C. tonight, Democrats in Congress are setting up a series of hearings on America's withdrawal from Afghanistan, as well as the Taliban's rapid takeover of the country. It comes amid rising anger about the Biden administration's handling of the withdrawal and the chaotic scramble to evacuate Americans and vulnerable Afghans. Meanwhile, the people of Afghanistan are waiting to see what kind of regime they will live under now that the Taliban are effectively in charge. The University of Utah has announced it has entered into a settlement with Christopher Massimine, the high-paid executive who we found got the job based on a series of widespread lies.
Earlier this week, Christopher Massimine announced he will be stepping away from his six-figure salary, citing mental illness. He's been on paid leave for the past 2 months in the wake of a Fox 13 News investigation into his work experience. The University of Utah has declined to release the terms of the settlement with Massimine, although settlements involving the government are generally public in Utah. If you'd like to see the original investigation, go to our website, fox13now.com.
Now to a developing story in Grand County. Deputies there are investigating the mysterious death of 2 women whose bodies were found along the LaSalle Loop Road just today. The sheriff's office says they were notified of the deaths after the women were found in the South Mesa area. Autopsies are being conducted to determine the cause of their deaths. Their names will not be released until their families have been notified.
The Utah County Sheriff's Office says they are investigating the 3rd case of animal cruelty involving the same man. 63-year-old Jex Hyatt of Salt Lake City has already been convicted once and charged a 2nd time in cases of animal cruelty involving cattle he owns and keeps in the Lake Shore area west of Spanish Fork. The latest case happened August 14th. Several calves were found dead and others were dangerously underweight. A cow and several calves have been seized and taken to a veterinarian.
We've seen huge changes in how the community is responding.
A long-running lawsuit involving the FLDS community is entering a new phase. We have an exclusive look at what could change. Still to come.
We've seen huge changes in how the community is responding, how the theocracy isn't as strong anymore.
The polygamous border town of Colorado City, Arizona wants out from under some court oversight.
It's part of a long-running lawsuit over religious influence in government in Colorado City and Hilldale, Utah. Fox 13's Ben Winslow has the story you'll only see here.
Colorado City is asking a federal judge to remove a consultant hired to reform its police force. In a court filing obtained by Fox 13, the city's attorney says the policing consultant has done his job and nothing else remains. While Colorado City appreciates the consultant's monitoring efforts, that work is not cheap and costs the city several thousand in fees. He goes on to say it's passed on to taxpayers. The U.S. Justice Department sued Colorado City and Hilldale back in 2017, accusing the town governments of acting as an arm of the fundamentalist LDS Church, discriminating against those who weren't in the faith. The police department was accused of being more loyal to FLDS leader Warren Jeffs than to the people they were supposed to protect and serve. Jeffs is currently serving a life sentence for child sex assault related to underage marriages, but continues to lead the church from prison. A jury sided with the feds and a judge ordered reforms. While the communities have seen big changes since the lawsuit, another court document obtained by Fox 13 says things in Colorado City really haven't changed that much. A court-appointed monitor tells the judge, while Hilldale town officials saw court intervention as a way to bring stability to the community, the feeling among Colorado City officials has been one of tolerance. He describes passive-aggressive comments by public officials who want to know when they'll be done, and comments like, "Aren't we tired of being in the community?" The monitor says, through comments and conduct, I have felt town officials see the imposition of this order as the greatest miscarriage of justice on the community, and not the underlying reasons for the order. The court monitor goes on to say the community has largely functioned as a theocracy for over 90 years, and reforms will take time.
The footprint of the FLDS in Colorado City has downsized to maybe 10%.
Andrew Chatwin is an ex-member of the FLDS Church. He sued Colorado City town marshals for how they treated him and got a settlement. Chatwin says there have been changes.
And that's why the monitor, in my opinion, is so important, because the church was running the mayor, judges, and the police department. We needed that monitor there to make sure that they're not continuing to violate people's civil rights.
Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
A federal judge in Phoenix will ultimately decide whether to grant Colorado City's request to remove that consultant. The community is under 10 years of court oversight as a result of the trial.
Still to come, one of Salt Lake City's most recognizable landmarks has been under construction for nearly 2 years now. We have an update on the progress being made on renovations to Temple Square.
Coming up in sports, RSL going after their second straight win at home. Could they hold on to an early lead? And former BYU quarterback Zach Wilson tells us why he went fanboy at the Jets practice today.
So glad you could join us for Fox 13 News at 9. Boy, what a weather day we have had today with all the heavy rain and flooding and the
wet
damage,
and dreary.
the wind blowing. Fox 13 meteorologist Allison Krogan will have your first alert forecast in just a few minutes.
Major temperature drop today.
Oh, yeah.
More than 20 degrees in Salt Lake City. Meanwhile, take a look at this. St. Mark's Hospital in Mill Creek began construction on some much-needed renovations today. The hospital's main lobby will remain closed during construction until 2023. The main entrance will move to the south side now. Hospital administration says the area has not been updated since 1972.
This tower project that we've got going on behind me is a new north tower for our patients. It's going to add 92 new beds to our campus. In order to do that, we're actually renovating another part of our tower, and by doing that, we also are adding on the new tower on the front side.
Volunteers and greeters will be stationed throughout the hospital to direct patients accordingly.
The renovation of Temple Square in downtown Salt Lake City is now in its 20th month. Video released by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints shows work that has taken place over the past 3 months. It includes reinforcement of the temple's roof, the continued renovation of the church office building plaza to the east, and additional excavation on the north side of the temple. For some, this is much more than a job.
Working here is kind of a dream come true, and a lot of people that are here are very glad that they're here, so I feel very lucky.
The underground work is at a depth of 65 feet below street level, with another 20 feet to go before construction begins on the new 3-level underground north addition.
Back to school news, another day, and now roughly 14,000 additional students in the state, these in the Provo City School District, return to the classroom for a brand new school year. School staff in the Provo City School District are preparing for a normal year after COVID changed so much in 2020. However, some protocols will remain in place, like cleaning classrooms.
Especially here locally, we're just grateful for people working with us and being patient. We're working as hard as we can to keep things safe. We're trying to keep our schools clean. We're providing all the hand sanitizer and masks and things like we have in the past.
This year, masks or COVID vaccinations will not be required of their students, but the district is recommending masking up to help stop the spread of the virus.
Well, for the elementary kids, today was an indoor recess day. I'll tell you that much.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't the rain, it was that the smoke that you could taste today still out there. It's actually gotten a little bit worse over the last few hours. Logan, down through Ogden and Layton, several of our PM 2.5 readings coming in from purple air showing up as red, which is unhealthy. And then on the west side of the Salt Lake Valley, West Valley down towards Harriman, that's leaning towards purple, which is very unhealthy. So we have bad air quality even up in the mountains, Park City down through Lehigh, Provo, Spanish Fork, Payson, much worse than it was this afternoon. It's still better across southern Utah, but man, oh man, we have quite a bit to talk about for our overnight hours. But I want to talk about the smoke. So I'm looking up into the atmosphere. I'm looking vertically right here with the smoke forecast for tomorrow morning. It's actually going to get a little bit worse for southern Utah. It's going to stay pretty smoky for northern Utah through early tomorrow morning. And then I do think that northern Utah will see a bit of a break come Thursday night into Friday. And then by Friday, we hopefully will see better air for southern Utah also. But wow, we are really just dealing with quite a bit here across the state. So an upper level low pressure system right now over the Pacific Northwest. It is continuing to move that air in from the southwest and northwest here across Utah. But as you wake up tomorrow morning, grab the umbrella and also grab a warmer jacket. Make sure you are sending those kids out to school prepared, because it's going to be a chilly start, especially if they're walking to school. Rain and mid-50s all morning long is a possibility here in Salt Lake City. Satellite and radar right now for the Wasatch Front. We still have moderate to heavy rainfall moving through from north end of Utah Lake up through Point of the Mountain. We have been seeing a lot of rain on the eastern side of the Salt Lake Valley this afternoon, and we still have that rain moving through right now. So in the overnight hours, ground is already saturated. I do anticipate still some problems yet to come from tonight's storms. Just issued right now a flash flood warning for portions of Zion National Park. A lot of rain currently from New Harmony up through Cedar City. That's an area that's seen quite a few problems up towards the Panguitch area. So flash flood warning till 12:45 for the Kolob Canyon area and Laverton Creek. So that does include Zion National Park. Drainage areas also have a flash flood warning down from Bryce into northern Arizona. Flash flood warning for the upper Escalante area. And then we also have flash flood watch until 6 o'clock in the morning for a lot of the state. For tomorrow, our excessive rain outlook does mostly include eastern Utah. Overnight temps very cool enough that we'll see snow levels about 10,000 feet. Most of us will be in the 40s and 50s tonight, and by tomorrow afternoon 50s and 60s for highs here across Utah. But look carefully, central Utah 1 a.m. tons of rain from Zion all the way up towards Nephi. So we've got quite a bit of rain into the Moab area early tomorrow morning. So we are tracking these storms that will be producing potentially flash flooding, potentially life-threatening storms. So please stay weather aware into the overnight hours. St. George close to 85 to 90 through Friday, close to 100 degrees by Monday. For Salt Lake City, our temperatures will be in the mid-60s tomorrow, close to 80 for Friday, Saturday. A nice weekend ahead, scattered showers on Saturday night, but then we're hot again by next Tuesday.
Real Salt Lake's playing Houston tonight at Rio Tinto Stadium. RSL going after their second straight win at home against the Dynamo team that has lost 3 straight with 0 wins in their last 12 matches. But that stretch does include 2 ties with RSL. RSL got off to a great start and it began with some pressure on the ball. Jonathan Menendez pokes the ball away. Bobby Wood takes it. by one defender, 3-on-1 to Justin Meram. He shoots and he scores. Wood turns the soft turnover into a goal, lays it off perfectly to Miriam, who one times it, puts it away. His first goal of the season. RSL up 1-0 in the 6th minute. That was the score at the half, but Houston tied it up in the second half on this corner kick. Fafa Picault rises and heads it in, all tied up. But RSL just scored a late goal from Anderson Julio to take a 2-1 lead late in the second half. The Utah football team is working hard to get the fall camp ready for the season. They're also mourning the passing of former Utah football player and coach John Pease. Passed away on Monday at the age of 77. Utah defensive coordinator Morgan Scalley called Pease the Utah man. Learned of his death just before practice on Monday and shared some thoughts today.
We spent a lot of time in the defensive staff room just talking about memories. Memories about John Pease. For, you know, the funny stuff. I can remember being on a coach's retreat, Snowbird, early in the morning at 6 a.m. and he's on the board writing stuff down, and all of a sudden you hear this loud squealing from outside, and he stops mid-sentence and turns and says, well, it's either really, really good or really, really bad. He provided the laugh. You know, he was a guy that taught me so much about preparation. I mean, you talk about a player-oriented coach. It was all about the player, very humble, never took credit for anything. He was just the best.
Zach Wilson and the Jets had a joint practice with the Packers. Wilson and fellow Jets quarterback James Morgan, who played high school ball in Green Bay, really enjoyed their time with Aaron Rodgers.
James is a big fanboy. He was getting a little nervous over that. No, I'm a big fanboy too. We all got to kind of pretend like we've been there before, but we enjoy just being out here and being able to talk to him. We're all technically at the same level now. We're all in the NFL, but it's like we all still kind of like, you know what, that's Aaron Rodgers. You know, it's kind of crazy. You know, but it's still, you know, a great tool for us just to be able to learn from him and kind of see what he's doing.
The 16-year vet, he was probably a 12-year-old cheering on Aaron Rodgers.
He was.
Now he's standing next to his idol.
A fanboy.
Cool. Yeah, well,
fanboy, yeah.
Self-proclaimed fanboy. Okay, I haven't really heard that term very much, but
there you
Zach says it okay.
You saw him right there.
Fangirl.
Yeah, right?
Thanks, Jeff. We'll be right back.
Thanks for being part of Fox 13 News at 9.
Busy day. Get a good night rest. Quick Cast is next.